Tyrone Bowman Live. Welcome to the program on tonight. Welcome to the conversation. It's time to talk about this story on this evening. It's been repeated, it's been rehashed, it's been told, but here's my perspective. A white jury acquitted Daniel Perry, a Marine veteran, in the New York City subway chokehold death of the black man Jordan Needley. So let me begin this program by showing you a photo. The photo shows Daniel Perry and his lawyers after the 26-year-old Marine veteran was acquitted in the subway chokehold death of Jordan Needley. So this is him celebrating while a family is grieving over the death of their beloved. This is him and his lawyers celebrating after he was acquitted. They went to a bar, they had a celebration, and the Race and Bigoted Network over there, known as Fox, they tried to slant the story by saying liberals are raging after this, as they put it, this veteran Marine was acquitted of murder. And even a lot of politicians chimed in, applauding the fact that the all-white jury acquitted him. When you get a white judge, you get an all-white jury, and you have a white suspect, you're going to get this now. Here is the young man who was murdered by this Marine, Jordan Needley. He had some serious mental problems, and for whatever reason and no reason, Perry decided to take matters into his own hand. So there is no empathy, there is no sympathy, there is no concern for him or for his family, not from the news media and not from the major networks. They're all applauding the fact that the white veteran, Marine veteran, was acquitted of murder. And you wonder why the activists are outraged. So let's get down to the essence of this story. I know you don't like these stories I do here on Tyrone Bowman Live, but as I said before, I make content for black people. And I talk about the issues that pertain to us. All the other networks, they've got all the other major networks who make sure that everything is reported for them. So let's get down to the essence of this story right now. This reported by CBS News. The headline reads, Daniel Perry found not guilty in New York City subway chokehold death of Jordan Needley. Daniel Perry has been found not guilty of criminally negligent homicide in the chokehold death of Jordan Needley on a New York City subway car in 2023. Perry, a 26-year-old Marine veteran, pleaded not guilty to charges of second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. The judge dismissed the manslaughter charge on Friday after jurors said they could not come to a unanimous decision. The jury could only consider the negligent homicide charge if Perry was cleared of manslaughter. And of course, they assassinated the character of Jordan Needley throughout the entire trial, as they always do with black people. They like to try to criminalize us and make us feel like we're not worth anything even before the trial begins. Word of the verdict came after jurors deliberated for more than 20 hours. Perry appeared to smile as his attorneys hugged each other. We couldn't be more pleased that a jury of Danny's peers acquitted him of any wrongdoing. And now New Yorkers can take some comfort in knowing that we can continue to stand up for one another without sacrificing our rights or our freedom, his lawyers said in a statement, meaning that whenever a black person is killed by a white person, they ought to be applauded and celebrated because black people's rights do not matter. His attorneys later shared a photo on social media showing them raise a glass at a bar after the verdict. CBS News, New York's Alice Gaynor was inside the courtroom when the decision came down. She reported it was chaos as some cheered in support of Penny, and Needley's father, Andre Zachary, had to leave the room because he stood up and was heard swearing. I would have been swearing too. So what? So what? The father had an emotional outburst. So what? He had an outburst. What is he supposed to sit there and do? Be quiet while the murderer of his son walks free? If the situation had been reversed, you know darn well that the black person would have been found guilty. Perry faced the minimum possible sentence of 15 years in prison on the manslaughter charge or 4 years on the negligent homicide charge. There was no minimum sentence. He was never going to be given 15 years in prison. Never. Dozens of protesters lined up outside the courthouse Monday, chanting "Justice for Jordan Neely." Inside, Perry's defense team asked for a mistrial and once again was denied. The defense also raised concerns that jurors could potentially hear some of what the demonstrators were saying. They said the demonstrators were using megaphones and bullhorns, chanting things like "murdered" and "subway strangler." The judge agreed. He also heard the commotion and reminded the jury to ignore things they may hear or read about the case. Zachary told CBS New York Monday, "My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. It really hurts, really." Adding, "What's going to happen to us now? Had enough of this. System is rigged. Come on, people. Let's do something about this." One activist who had been outside demonstrating every morning was inside and yelled something at Penny's along the lines of, "It's a small world, buddy. Our call to action is to take care of each other. We can't rely on outside people. If we see someone asking for food, we have to take the responsibility to give it to them. If we see someone cold, to give them a coat. If we see someone going through something, to ask them if they're okay," Dante Mills, attorney for the Neely family, said during a news conference outside the courtroom. "That's how we help each other because we can't rely on the system to do it for us." Eric Gardner's mother, Gwen Carr, also spoke outside the courtroom saying, "No one deserves to be choked to death," adding, "I tell this family, do not give up because that's what they want you to do. They want to discourage you. Just like they tried to discourage me 10 years later, I'm still fighting." The Reverend Al Sharpton, who spoke at Neely's funeral, put out a statement which read in part, "This verdict represents the blatant legalization of civilian vigilantism, sending a dangerous message that citizens can now take matters into their own hands, even if it leads to someone's death. It was foolish of us to think that a black man would get justice in a system that is designed to help him oppressed," added Shavani, a Newsom, co-founder of Black Lives Matter Greater New York. The verdict drew praise from Vice President J.D. Vance and New York Congressman Mike Lawler, who both criticized Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg for prosecuting Penny. Bragg released a statement following the verdict saying, "As with every case, we followed the facts and the evidence from beginning to end. A grand jury voted to indict, and the office carefully presented this case to a trial jury. Over the course of the trial, we introduced medical records, videos, body cam footage, and testimony from over 30 witnesses, including from the city's office of the chief medical examiner. The jury carefully deliberated for 4 days. They requested readbacks of testimony and asked for video footage to rewatch, as well as written definitions of the law. Their lengthy deliberation and the totality of the facts and the evidence underscored why this case was put in front of a jury of Mr. Penny's peers. The jury has now spoken. At the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, we deeply respect the jury process and we respect their verdict. Unfortunate, over the duration of this trial, talented career prosecutors and their family members were besieged with hate and threats on social media, by phone, and over email. Simply put, this is unacceptable. And everyone, no matter your opinion on this case, should condemn it. There are prosecutors who have dedicated decades of their lives to public service and to the safety of Manhattan. I'm grateful to them as well as to the NYPD for their hard work and commitment on not only this matter, but for all they do on behalf of New Yorkers. I also want to thank Judge Wiley for presiding over this case. Finally, I want to thank the members of the jury who took time out of their lives to diligently evaluate the evidence. Mayor Eric Adams was asked by reporters if he thinks the verdict says anything about the mood of the city, and if he feels like it could open the door for maybe more of these interactions of people exacting their own justice. Good question, and I'll answer the latter first. Of what you see, of what people often do, a lot of people make interpretations, about trials, but juries are in the courtroom. They're hearing every piece of evidence, they're hearing the testimonies, they have to make the decision, and that's the system that we have. And actually, it is probably one of the best systems on the globe. And I think the juries heard the evidence and made a determination based on the evidence that they heard. And does it impact what's going to happen throughout the city? That people are going to take action or going to take action? I don't think it does. Let me tell you something about Mayor Eric Adams. He's going to throw a massive curveball to the Democratic Party and the Democrats. Eric Adams, who was under indictment, is expected to go to trial in April. He's going to make sure that he stays on the Democratic ticket to win re-election, and then after he does, he's going to defect from the Democratic Party and he's going to become a Republican. That's what's going to happen. Because you all have to pay attention, he's been sounding more and more like MAGA. And people did not pay attention to two important things. He welcomed now President-elect Donald Trump with open arms. He gave him Madison Square Garden. And at the Mike Tyson fight, who was talking to who? Go back and look at the video. You all don't want to believe it, but watch him defect from the Democratic Party after he wins re-election and becomes pro-law and order, turn on his own people, and he's doing it all for political posturing because he wants a pardon if he gets acquitted. So continue with the mayor's comments. I think that oftentimes people make these decisions when they are in the midst of it, and there's a desire for New Yorkers to help out those who are in need. There's a desire of New Yorkers is to always respond when they believe it's necessary. And I don't think that is going to change in any way. This is not the first time, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last time that individuals take actions and people are going to question about those actions that happened. But at the cornerstone and at the heart of this young man, like so many others that are on our subway systems, I made it clear that's not a place to sleep, to live. That's not a place to be. And when they need help, we need to give them the help. I can't even read no more of this mayor's statement. I don't care if he is black. See, you all keep forgetting Adams was a cop for a long time. Yes, and he was a Republican for a long time, who switched over and became a Democrat to get elected. And he has always been pro-law enforcement and will continue to be. So, let's talk about the charges. In order to be convicted of manslaughter, prosecutors had to prove Penny caused Neely's death, that he did so recklessly, that he was not justified. In order to be convicted of criminally neglect homicide, prosecutors had to prove Penny caused Neely's death, that he did so with criminal negligence, that he was not justified. Police and witnesses say Neely, who was 30, boarded an F train in Soho on May 1, 2023, and began shouting, throwing things, and making threats. Penny, a passenger on the train, approached Neely from behind and tried to restrain him. Video showed Penny holding Neely in a chokehold on the floor of the train for several minutes until Neely stopped moving. After police arrived, officers administered Narcan to Neely, performed CPR, and used an AED, but were unable to revive him. Neely was pronounced dead at the scene. Police said Neely did not have any weapons on him. A medical examiner ruled Neely's death a homicide 3 days later, with the cause as compression of the neck. Toxicology reports showed Neely had a synthetic marijuana in his system when he died. What difference does that make? Seriously, What difference does it make if he had marijuana in his system? How does that justify him being murdered on a subway train? You see, you all who are pro law and order about everything you have, until it hits you and hits home, and then when black cops start violating the law and all types of things start happening, then y'all want to cry for justice. But when it's happening to black folk, y'all don't give a damn. It doesn't matter. Life is life. God is the one who gives life. And there are justifiable times when individuals, face the death penalty for heinous crimes that they commit. Law and order tempered with mercy and justice still has to be the norm of the day. Neely was a street performer and Michael Jackson impersonator who was experiencing homelessness and had struggled with mental illness after his mother was murdered in 2007. Video of Penny holding Neely in the chokehold was widely circulated online. Neely's death sparked protests across New York City, with many raising concerns about the need for better mental health care in the city, and Neely's family called for Penny's arrest. Penny turned himself in on May 12, 2023, and was initially charged with a second-degree manslaughter and released on $100,000 bail. He was arraigned in June and pleaded not guilty to criminally negligent homicide and second-degree manslaughter. Penny defended his actions, saying he was trying to protect other passengers on the train by restraining Neely. In late October 2024, a 12-person jury and 4 alternates were selected and sworn in. They included 7 women and 5 men, with at least 7 white people, 1 Hispanic person, 1 Filipino person, 1 black person. Let me read that again. 7 white people, 1 Hispanic person, 1 Filipino person, 1 black person, and 1 person of Middle Eastern descent. The trial began November 1. The prosecutors argued in their opening statements that Penny, though he had good intentions, recklessly and used excessive force without trying any other means of de-escalating the situation. The defense, meanwhile, argued Penny was protecting other passengers and there was no other way to de-escalate due to Neely's behavior. Jurors heard testimony from multiple witnesses, including police officers, MTA employees, passengers on the train, and a bystander who helped Penny restrain Neely. Penny's Marine Corps martial arts instructor and the medical examiner who performed Neely's autopsy also took the stand. The defense called Penny's mother and platoon sergeants as character witnesses, along with a forensic pathologist who said he disagreed with the medical examiner's cause of death. Jurors began their deliberations last Tuesday. They sent 2 notes back to the judge. The first requested a read back of part of the judge's instructions. The second note asked the judge if they could return for deliberations Wednesday, which is a day they would normally have had off. The judge approved that request. Wednesday morning, jurors sent another note asking to see a video compilation of police body cams from the verdict, as well as footage of Penny's police station interview. Jurors also asked for readback of the medical examiner's cross-examination. So there you have it. That's the full story. Another day, no justice. Never surrender. Never quit.